Whistleblowers are often described as people who expose wrongdoing. They are framed as moral actors who speak truth to power, reveal hidden abuses, and force institutions to confront uncomfortable realities. In public narratives, the story usually ends there. A revelation is made. The truth comes out. Accountability follows. In reality, this is rarely how it works. Most whistleblowers do not lose because they are wrong. They lose because the systems they challenge are structured to survive disclosure rather than respond to it. The assumption behind whistleblowing is that institutions fail because they do not know what is happening inside them. That once the truth is revealed, correction becomes unavoidable. History suggests a different pattern. In many cases, the information disclosed by whistleblowers was already known, partially known, or actively managed within the institution long before it became public. The failure was not ignorance, it was containment. Whistleblowers do not introduce new information into the system. They introduce uncontrollable information. And that distinction matters. Uncontrollable information creates responsibility without permission. It forces institutions to respond on timelines they did not choose, in ways they cannot fully manage. It disrupts internal equilibrium. This is why whistleblowers are treated not as sources of insight, but as threats. Not because what they say is false, but because what they say removes the institution's ability to control how failure is acknowledged, explained, and absorbed. This episode is not about individual courage or personal sacrifice. It is about structure, about why institutions almost always defeat whistleblowers, regardless of the accuracy of their claims, and why systems designed to value transparency quietly punish those who practice it without authorization. To understand why whistleblowers lose, it is necessary to understand what institutions actually protect. Contrary to public belief, institutions are not primarily organized around truth or accuracy. They are organized around legitimacy, continuity, and authority. Truth is valuable only insofar as it can be integrated without threatening those foundations. Internal dissent is tolerated when it can be managed. Reports can be filed. Concerns can be escalated. Reviews can be commissioned. All of this happens within controlled channels. Whistleblowing bypasses those channels. It removes the institution's ability to decide when, how, and to what extent failure is acknowledged. It collapses internal timelines into public ones. It forces explanation before preparation. This creates a problem that cannot be solved with procedure. From the institution's perspective, the whistleblower is not someone raising a concern. They are someone breaking containment. This is why responses follow a familiar pattern. The focus shifts away from the substance of the disclosure and toward the behavior of the individual. Motives are questioned. Processes are scrutinized. Rules are invoked. The institution reframes the event from a failure of responsibility to a failure of conduct. This reframing is critical. It allows the system to treat the disclosure as the problem, rather than what was disclosed. It restores control by relocating the issue from structure to individual behavior. Once this happens, the outcome becomes predictable. The whistleblower is isolated. Access is revoked. Credibility is challenged. Legal and administrative mechanisms activate. Careers stall or collapse. Meanwhile, the institution demonstrates that it is taking the matter seriously. Investigations are announced. Statements are issued. Procedures are reviewed. From the outside, accountability appears to be happening. From the inside, control has been restored. This is why whistleblowers almost always lose. Not because the truth is rejected, but because it was revealed in a way the system could not safely absorb. Once a whistleblower has broken containment, the institution shifts from response to defense. This phase is rarely dramatic. There are no public confrontations or explicit admissions of retaliation. Instead, the process unfolds through ordinary administrative actions that appear reasonable in isolation. Access is restricted, duties are reassigned, communications are formalized, meetings stop happening. None of these actions need to be justified as punishment. Each can be explained as a precaution, a procedural requirement, or a neutral adjustment. Taken together, they function as isolation. This is how institutions punish without appearing to retaliate. At the same time, the whistleblower's identity begins to matter more than their information. Attention shifts to how the disclosure was made, whether proper channels were followed, whether rules were technically violated, whether confidentiality agreements were breached. This focus is not incidental. By reframing the issue around process, the institution changes the terms of evaluation. The question is no longer whether the disclosure was accurate or necessary. The question becomes whether the individual behaved correctly. Once that shift occurs, the outcome is largely predetermined. Institutions are extremely good at enforcing procedure. They are far less capable of confronting structural failure. By emphasizing rule-breaking over wrongdoing, they restore a familiar terrain where authority is clear and enforceable. The whistleblower is now operating on hostile ground. Legal protections exist in theory, but they are narrow, slow, and reactive. They often require proof of intent, documentation of retaliation, and prolonged exposure to risk. Even when protections apply, the process itself is punishing. This is not an accident. Protection mechanisms are designed to demonstrate fairness, not to neutralize power imbalance. They offer recourse after damage has already occurred, not immunity from it. Meanwhile, the institution continues to function. Investigations proceed, committees are formed, reports are generated, time passes. For the whistleblower, time is a weapon. Careers erode quietly. Financial pressure accumulates. Professional identity dissolves. Social isolation deepens. None of this needs to be ordered or coordinated. It emerges naturally from exclusion. This is why retaliation is so difficult to prove. It does not look like retaliation. It looks like the absence of support. Over time, this pattern produces a powerful deterrent effect. Institutions do not need to punish every whistleblower aggressively. They only need to allow enough examples to circulate internally. People observe what happens. They draw conclusions. The lesson is absorbed without being stated. Raising concerns through approved channels is acceptable. Escalating concerns persistently is risky. Making concerns public without permission is catastrophic. This is how institutions normalize silence. Whistleblower protections, ethics hotlines, and compliance offices remain in place. They signal openness. They provide a sense of safety. But their function is containment, not disruption. They allow dissent to be recorded, categorized, and managed internally. They ensure that potential whistleblowers remain inside the system long enough for control to be maintained. Those who step outside are treated differently, not because they are wrong, but because they remove the institution's ability to manage timing, narrative, and consequence. This is why whistleblowers almost always lose. They are not defeated by counter-arguments. They are defeated by process, delay, isolation, and exhaustion. The system does not need to disprove them. It only needs to outlast them. And it usually does. The deeper effect is cultural. As these outcomes repeat, institutions train their members to equate loyalty with discretion and truth with permission. People learn to document concerns carefully, share them selectively, and stop short of forcing action. Over time, this reshapes what integrity looks like inside the system. Integrity becomes compliance. Responsibility becomes procedure. Courage becomes caution. From the outside, the institution continues to claim transparency. From the inside, everyone understands the limits. This is not because people lack moral clarity. It is because they understand the cost of crossing the line. Whistleblowers almost always lose, not because institutions are hostile to truth, but because they are optimized to survive it. And as long as survival depends on controlling how failure is revealed, those who reveal it without authorization will continue to pay the price.